Oh well, shit didn't want to work. Well, fuck that then. But anyway, that's life. But yeah. Oh, piss off. Die. I don't want you here. Fucking asshole. I should really get a data pack for this world to disable his goddamn fucking spawn. Cause fuck me, that dipshit is always just fucking annoying. But, as I was gonna say, hello, and welcome back to yet another stream. Today, we'll be running up some modded Minecraft, cause some people that I talk to fairly regularly were interested in how I been building these cars that I've been working on for past little while. So today I decided, why the fuck not show the people how they work, how I build them, and some odds and ends about that. But without further ado, let's get into it. And yeah, so the basics are fairly simple. Everything in these cars, number 1, 2, and 3, plus technically this big ass fucking diesel generator that I have here, are based on the create mod, which is basically all of these cogs and shafts and all the stuff that you can see strewn a little all over the place, plus these fluid pipes and all of that. That's the basis of everything. It's basically rotational power, of course. And with that, I need a fucking... I'll pick these up and chuck them away because I hate them. With that, we, of course, as always, need some kind of power source. And in these cases, it's a engine. I, for some reason, have decided I'll power them, or have diesel as my main fuel source for them. So in this one here, this one is kind of special because it also has a fuel pipe, not the exhaust pipe, but not the other ones. Oh, what up, Sith? But yeah, they mainly run off of diesel. This one is the special one with the exhaust. This one is just the good old diesel generators. Small block engine, as what I like to call it. And this one is my new V8 that I've been kind of scratching my head about, that I finally got working yesterday, that I was really happy about. Everything's good with me. Actually decided, fuck it, I'm gonna try and stream this shit and hopefully explain at least some stuff to the best of my abilities around this crap. But yeah, I can take this one because this is probably the simplest one I have right now, and be able to explain sort of what is working. No, these aren't reactors. These are normal, like, diesel engines. So it's a diesel engine that powers well, the large ass fucking transmission and gearbox here that then will go out to either back wheels uh, or a speedo, depending on which rotation I decide to put the seating area in. So if I want to have the seating facing that direction, this will be the back. If I want to have the seating in this direction, this will be the front. Yeah, it's a car. Or 3 cars actually. This is the most basic of the cars I have. This is a little bit more complex, and this V8 is probably the most complex, but still somewhat uh, easy to understand when you figure everything out. But yeah, so the engine of course powers everything. It goes into the alternator to charge up the starting motor's battery, and of course heads down, starts the flywheel. Yeah, somewhat. I can't really make it as realistic as possible, but at least I'm trying. So it goes out here, down to the flywheel, down of course into the transmission, and basically makes this whole piece of shit starts rotating at varying speeds from like 16 RPM up to I think somewhere between 128, which then heads out into the, I wouldn't call it differential or anything, but the output at least. And of course powers itself through here, so the gearbox and either this would be back wheel or speedo. And it will of course also start the fuel injection from here to either fill it up or just chuck more fuel into the engine until the tank runs dry. That's sort of the basics of it. And this was one of the first ones I built, because I needed to just fucking jump head on first into the deep end of the pool and make something somewhat complex but still fairly easy to build, in my opinion, at least now that I've built it like 3 or 4 times over. I still have an old version that is like as you can see, this one is really small, but if I were to place it down in the main world, it's really big, so I have scaled it down about 66% or so. So yeah, it is fairly small, but that's considering I want to try to make it somewhat realistic, life size, and not look like a huge fucking abomination on 4 wheels. But yeah, so this was the first. Then I made this with another mod called The Factory Must Grow, and there you actually have to fuck, I'm losing words here. You have to actually consider exhaust with it. So of course, as before, engine starts, everything shocks out, it'll supply itself with fuel, but it will also have to drain out all the emissions from the exhaust and all of that. So that's what this gray pipe here is. I just made it look like this depending on if I want to make it a front or rear engine motor, of course. And of course it has a starter motor, just because I wanted to have it, even though this one technically doesn't need it, because I can just trigger it with one redstone impulse and it will start up as long as it has fuel inside it. That's why I have this crank here. I forgot to place that on this one. But yeah, so it goes into this 5-speed sequential manual gearbox here. And of course before 16 to somewhere between 128 out into either front or back, depending on the direction I want it to be in. And then my newest engine, sort of more complex, considering it's a bit more of a headache to make, at least the engine part. This part is fairly similar to these ones. Of course, the starter motor section is just basically moved one slot to the right, so I was actually able to fit this. Same with the rotation meter. It was also switched one to the right and also turned 180 degrees instead of having the speedometer placed basically here. Yeah, it looks wonky, but that's because the engine is kind of wonky. I placed it here, and then it sends a signal from here to this clutch, so that the engine actually needs to start turning before this clutch activates and sends power through the gearbox. And this engine is actually even more scaled down, so it's not actually 1 to 3, it's more like 1 to 4 in scale. Or a little more than 1 to 4, it's more like 1 to 4.1 or 4.2, something like that. Yeah, it's a bit complex, but once you get your head around it, it does actually kind of make sense. And of course, this one does have a starter, engine start. So as you can see, the engine starts with just a button press. I would love to have a key, but don't have something like that just yet, so a button will have to suffice. Let's get this one and actually get ourselves that one. Give me just a normal straight fucking pipe here, shaft. Let's delete that one, and I can probably show you somewhat of how it works. So let's actually shift it down to first. There, that's first. So this is the V8, of course. So first gear is 68 RPM. It's not really equivalent to anything in real life. It's what I'm able to do in the game. Second gear, roughly 144. Second, 178. Fourth, usually 1 to 1. In this case it is, so 224. And then fifth gear, that is about 0 to 1 to 0.7, I think. And that's going out at 320. I would love to have some kind of indicator that shows me what gear I'm at, but I'll just have to do that through a speedo. But yeah, that's sort of the basics of it. I could probably chuck up a version of either yeah, let's do that. Give me the tool gun. Let's turn you off. Then we do this. Create. Let's place you down. There. You're placed down. Now we just gotta do that. Right, so here's the like basic fuel tank and gearbox assembly, plus of course starter and speedo counter. Ah shit, you're still running. Let's fix that. Okay, there we go. So as you'll probably can see, this is just this part of... No, that's a other version that I haven't really gotten to work yet. As you can see, it's just this part, the tank and gearbox assembly basically. So the engine would sit here, here, and here to basically sit still and then get fuel from here. And this is just a universal joint that would then be at the engine's output also, and just connected with a connector rod. Same here for the starter engine, that would also be placed to the engine to make it start turning. So the power would basically come in here. Hopefully, let's do this. The power would go into that universal shaft, into this cog, which would then start turning this fuel pump from the fuel tank. Then down to these two cogs, into this, of course, inverted clutch that requires rotational energy from this speedo to be sent through the comparator into this relay that would then have a redstone link on it. So it then sends power into all of these gear and these, they're called gearboxes, but I wouldn't really call them gearboxes here. These connector boxes basically, and this cog to work this fuel pump also, because we want to be able to get fuel into the fuel tank if you want to refuel, of course. So the speed of all of these encased ones are controlled by these speed controllers that I've set up here. So they have a... they're basically 34, 38, like 60 something, 70 something, 112 roughly, and then somewhere around, I think, 180 something here to get the right amount of power out through the wheels. And of course, these inverted clutches are set up so when I press go on my controls, this one will activate and send a signal into these encased chain drives to then start turning these universal shafts that would then be hooked up to the wheels. Same with these, that would either be the back or the front wheels depending on which use case I want it to be. And of course, if I want to, a speedometer. Y'all get the basics so far, or do I need to maybe show you how an engine works? Or is it as clear as clarified butter? Oh, fucking staircase. Really need to put down guardrails for this shit. Oh yeah, of course. I can also inspect from underneath because I made all of these inspection holes. Of course, I still have my big ass fucking diesel generator here that I could show off if you want to see that. This is just some experiment I tried to do a while back that hasn't really the fuck, I'm losing words here. It hasn't really done fuck all and stuff that I wanted to do, and this is just basically a clock to control what time the world is set at, so it's basically always noon. Ah, you do have fuel in you, huh? Ah, looky, you actually work. How good for you. Okay, that was a rather quick demonstration of how this basically works. But this is one that never really went anywhere. It's basically just instead of having that big ass transmission and gearbox here, it has just this tiny gearbox and inverted clutch as it instead. And then, of course, going out into the back wheels and heading up back to the speedo or back wheels, depending on the orientation. If y'all want me to, I could probably at least build up this simple engine to show you all at least some of the basics, if that's alright with you. Where the fuck are you? There. Okay, let's get that. We need that. We'll need all of this. Right, let's head just a bit over here and actually build up this to show you at least some of the basics of it. Oh, it turns like that. Okay, good. Okay, so this is basically almost all that it is in the beginning. Just the engine, fuel and fuel pump. Is it a normal or inverted clutch? It's inverted, okay. Let's just pick up all of this. Wrong. There. And it's a clutch, encased chain, resistor. I think it's a 6-way. And the L, I think the 6-way is there, yeah. And I believe it's another 6-way there. God damn it, why did I build it so far away? Yeah, and then that. Let's do that and that. Let's chuck on this flywheel just to like show an example of everything. Quick little creative fucker. And then some fuel. So if I start turning this crank, the fuel will be supplied, of course. Now I just need to place down that. No, there. Those. So, bing bang boom. Comparator. And the relay. And as you can see, the engine starts turning. And I would at least say it's fairly simple, at least how it works right now. The engine gets its fuel, starts turning over, sends it through this output shaft into this fuel pump, who picks up the fuel from this gas tank, basically, in this case, or just a fluid tank normally. Then there. Then we have the whole starter motor set up here, which is basically do that right now. We need, no, I need the L. And I think it's a normal clutch here, if I'm not incorrect. Yep, it's a normal clutch. So, clutch. Fuck you. Work. There we go. There, now you aren't running. So, the entire starter motor setup here is basically the... fuck me, I'm losing words again. Yeah, so it of course sends power into these. It sends the power down this entire structure here into the output pipe. But it also sends sends the rotation this way to the alternator that charges up this battery, which would then send power into this electric motor once this lever or a equivalent of something that gives a redstone impulse or constant redstone power to turn off the clutch and the engine so it doesn't run the entire time and just drain the battery. So that would send a signal here to turn off this target block and this clutch and the motor, sending a timed redstone signal, or lack of redstone signal in this case, to let this one turn on, this clutch turn off, sending the rotation into here through this output pipe into the fuel pump, which would then, of course, send fuel into these engines here and make them start turnover, and then out. And by that time, this whole thing would have been turned off. There, that one is. Then I need that one. Where's the fuck is the... No? What the fuck? Thought it was named that. Right. Give me that. Give me that. Oh, what up, Smiley? Basically, the impulse would go into here, into this inverted repeater, and then out into this normal repeater. And it will, of course, get a signal, usually from a redstone link like this one. I'm not gonna place anything right now because it will just start fucking everything up. But yeah, basically it sends the power, or gets power, goes into this timer, into this inverted gate, which turns off this repeater, would then turn off the transmitter that would usually send a signal to this, that would have a receiver on it to have this entire thing basically turned on, so nothing starts turning here. Because we don't want anything here to be off while the engine is running, because then it would just drain the battery and it would just become a headache and a half trying to rebuild everything. Because I've had to do that a million times by now, because just trying to copy everything over from one version to another, trying to rebuild it, something always gets thumped over. But yeah, so this is purely the like brains or heart or main thing behind these engines. This is sort of, as I said before, the simpler of the three versions that I have set up. Then of course there's the entire transmission and gearbox assembly, but that one is more straightforward. I can chuck down a version of it and show you. I need that. Need the gear shift, speed controller. Nope. Fuck. They're encased. I need the L. I need the mechanical. I need that one, and I need that. Okay, so let's show you all how the, at least my version of the gearbox usually works. Let's just give these some basic numbers. Let's do 96, that's 4th gear. Here's 5th gear. So this one in front here would usually be reverse. This would mainly be 1st gear, 2nd gear, 3rd, 4th, 5th. And then wrong. Fuck you. There we go. Of course that one wanted to face the wrong direction. Now you want to face the wrong direction also. How fucking fun. No, no. Yeah, yeah. There we go. What more do I need? Oh yeah, I need the gearbox, cog. So gearboxes here, or as I like to just call them, connectors. This cogwheel that would usually go to the first fuel pump to send fuel into the fuel tank when you want to refill the fuel on this. Let's just do something quite simple here for now. Just to give like some kind of inkling on how it does what it does. Give it 96, so it actually is 1-to-1 out on fourth. So, of course, the entire gearbox assembly wouldn't look like this, or doesn't look like this in these, but this is just a quick demonstration of what it would look like. Besides all of these encased ones. So, what happens is, depending on which direction, and if I want to go up, down, or in gears, I would just, oh fuck, oh yeah, I do this. So what happens? It would get an impulse from either these two or this one to either go up in gear or down in gear. In this case, I need to change direction of it, so it actually... So, this would of course has always been neutral. Then, it goes here to first. Oh yeah, I'm being fucking moronic. There's of course this output shaft here. I need a normal shaft. Give me that. No, that's where that one is supposed to be. God damn it. Okay, so as I said before, let's do that. So this position here, that is neutral. If I give it an impulse on this one, it goes up to first, which then connects to this output rod that would then be connected to the speedometer here, or output, depending on if it's a front or rear engine build. And of course, same on this side, either speedo or back wheels, depending on if it's a front or rear engine build. I don't want to do front wheel drive cars just yet, because then I need to do a bit more head scratching, and I'm not up to that right now. So, another impulse, up to second, third, fourth, and fifth, of course. Then we reverse it, so it gets a negative rotation, and it drags back down the gears, back to neutral, and then into reverse. So that, yes, you could technically make it so that you have a reverse like you do in GTA or other driving games, where you just press S or whatever controls you have it binded to start reversing, but I wanted to try and make it sort of realistic-ish, at least. So that's why I made it like this. Let's send it back up to neutral. So yeah, this is the basic engine setup and the fairly basic gearbox transmission setup of what the cars are basically built on and around. Okay, let's stop this for now. There we go. That one stopped. Yeah, I know it's overstressed. That's because I stopped it. Yeah, so these are the basics of it, basically. You fucker, you're still turning. Well, fuck you then. There we go. Now that one is not turning down. Okay, so that at least worked. Good. Or not. As you saw, the entire electric motor just broke. Fuck's sake. Oh, it's somehow something here. Oh, for fuck's sake, I'm not even gonna worry about that right now. But yeah, that is the basics of it. And depending on which of the engines I want to use, either the good old diesel engine, as we can see all the way over here in this diesel generator, or if I want to use this engine from the other one that actually has the exhaust, I can just either use that one and then need to chuck on just a small little extra thing for the exhaust to be able to pump out, which would usually just be another cog there with a pump and the exhaust going out, basically. Now, the only thing I haven't done right now is make a body for any of these three builds that I'm actually okay with. I do have ideas for them, but the thing is, it's not really super easy to make, considering it is Minecraft. I could always scale it down using this tool gun and just shrink stuff and basically be able to build at a smaller scale, but that also means more blocks occupying the same space, and they can just become a bit of a kerfuffle with that if you're unlucky, as I would call it, or you just get straight up fucked over. Like, the idea is for this one to be a normal front engine, this one hopefully to be a back engine, probably just normal like coupe, more like a sports car, and this one is, well, main idea, something similar to a 60s or 70s muscle car. But that's just the main ideas behind them right now. This one, if I was able to get it to do what I want, it would probably also be some kind of rear air engine sports car. So yeah, these are what I would at least call them, the basics of my car builds in this mod, at least for Minecraft. There's always standalone real car mods and all that, but I actually wanted to try my hand at making them by myself. Jesus Christ, I'm getting parched. And as you can see there in the distance, that's just a fucked up helicopter build that I tried my hands at like a week ago that never came to fruition because it was even more of a headache than this stuff already sort of is, considering this fucker needs a whole other 3-4 assemblies on top of it just to do what it's supposed to do, and not even gonna try my hand at that for now. I could probably try my hand at a plane, but not a helicopter right now. And if anybody suggests me, oh, you should do a VTOL, I'm gonna come to your house and kick you straight in the nards. Oh wait, that might be a bit too expensive for me. I would just tell you to shut the fuck up and try it your goddamn self. So, yeah. The basics of everything explained as good as I can explain something without getting too bogged down into all of the other crap surrounding everything and all of that. I'm getting kind of annoyed at this. Fuck you, I'm gonna... Let me just do something like this and like that. I don't need that right now. Give me there. There. Okay, so you two survived. How good for you. Give me back my fucking axe. So, yeah. These are the basics, in my opinion, of how this works. This one is, of course, slightly more complex, considering I needed to rebuild and change out some blocks. So instead of encased chain drives, it's instead encased cogwheels this time here, considering this is technically an entire new ship bolted on to this one, same as the seating area there would be bolted on to either of these three, depending on which one it is I want. So this one is the bit more complex one, considering it needs these universal shafts sent through these like connecting rods, whatever you want to call them, that sends the starting power from this starter motor, as I like to call it, out from the motor to this universal shaft into this cog that starts turning both the engines and this other cog connected to a universal shaft that goes all the way down into this fuel pump there. So it then starts pumping the fuel up to this magnetic hose, which has a similar but smaller magnetic hose here, with a small pump that goes and divides into these 8 engines. And the entire build is actually flipped 45 degrees from how it was built originally. So if you could picture in your head this flipped 45 degrees counterclockwise. So if this is 12 o'clock, it would be flipped to 9 o'clock. So this here would be 9 o'clock. This here would be 12 o'clock, instead of this being at like 11:30 and this being at like 2:30. And then it's basically picked up, lined up into these two spin-off bearings and this magnetic hose connector to keep it somewhat steady, at least so it doesn't shake and start turning all over the place. But that's for the test phase of it that I'm probably gonna do later on, when I've actually figured out what the fuck kind of body I want for the car in the end. Why the hell are you already at first gear? Oh well, I don't care. Do I still have the controller on me? Yes, I do. Good. Okay, well, yeah. The boiled down basics and a quick example of how the fuck everything and that shit actually worked. I forgot to remove that bullshit. Oh well, now it's removed. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions surrounding any of this? Or do you want me to boil it down to the absolute basics of the create mod and then ramp it up to this point? Or do you at least get an inkling of what I'm talking about here? Or trying to talk about, at least. Don't be shy now. It's not really a lesson or anything here. It's just a showcase of what I've been up to, considering some of you all were interested in how this shit is built up and the functions and all of that behind this. Or is it crystal clear? For me, sometimes it's basically as clear as hot dog water. But then I just usually do it from the ground up again and try to fucking understand it. Hold on 2 seconds while I take my morning pill. Fuck me, chronic migraine is a bitch. There we go. But yeah. So, everything is crystal clear at this point. Alright. How splendid. Ugh. Fucking Red Bull burp starting to burn in my throat. Ugh. Fuck. And I just smacked my mic. How fucking swell. Does anyone have any other questions about anything that I've shown y'all here for about the past 55 minutes or so? Otherwise, we'll take a quick little break. I need to piss like a motherfucker. In the meanwhile, please talk amongst yourselves. And I will be back in maybe 2-3 minutes. And we'll continue on after that. Yeah, see you all in 2 to 3 minutes. Alright, I am back. So, now I forgot my train of thought here. Oh yeah. You've seen all of this basically. The first basic one, the second, the little harder one, because it needs the exhaust, and now the most complex one to this point, the V8, with its starting button, of course. As you can see, everything turns. The fuck? Okay, something fucked up has happened. Give me a compressible shaft. There we go. There we are. Yeah. So the basics of it, basically. Or as close to basics as I can explain. Let's turn you off. I don't really like the noise that it makes, so I might need to change that with a resource pack or something, but yeah. Any other questions? Any at all? Why do I keep falling into that hole? I really need guardrails. If you're wondering what this thing is here, it's just to be able to actually be able to fuel the or fill up the fuel tank even if the engine is stopped. So that if this was the like actual car build, you could just open a little flap, chuck in some more diesel or gasoline or ethanol or whatever I want to run the motor on, or the fuels that works for this engine at least. That would be diesel, biodiesel, gasoline, or ethanol. Just chuck that in so the tank. Now it's a creative tank because it's a demonstration model. Normally it would be a normal 32,000 millibucket tank, but yeah, it would just be able to fill it even if the engine's not turned over. Yeah. I would love it if I could change the creative motor here to something else, but I probably won't because I do need something to give constant rotational energy into this pump. Otherwise, it would just be a standstill, and I would need to have the engine turning as I fill it up, and then the fuel tank would still just drain, and it would just become an exercise in futility trying to fill it up, and having this one basically stay at a standstill, and it just becomes more of a headache, and then I would need to lie down because I would just get a migraine. And nobody wants me with a migraine because then I'm just irritable and I want to murder everyone. But, yep. Now, I did have an experiment a couple of weeks ago that I did try. That one also didn't bear any fruits at all, and that was trying to make some how some kind of motorcycle build that never came to fruition because, well, as you all can probably understand yourselves, I would need, of course, I could probably just do a quick little demonstration of how it would be sort of. Give me these. It would basically be, I would need the engine like this with the fuel tank on top, and then of course the seat and my lectern here with the controller, and this would need to be shrunken down from, instead of 1 to 1 as it is right now, it would need to probably be shrunken down to either 1 to 4 or 1 to 5 scale. And it becomes, well, this is 1 to 3. This one is about 1 to 4 or 1 to 4.5 or something like that. Meaning that this thing would be need to be even smaller. Then you would need to have this bits and bobs bolted on top of it and be able to basically steer with wheels. Then give me a pair of wheels. Why do I have so many fucking mods? Let's do just that small spare one for now. Like this, basically. This would be how it would sort of look in this case. And of course, I would need to send power from the engine then. I don't know if it would even have a gearbox. It would probably be this abomination over here that I would build it off of then. And have power going from here. Let's do a quick demo of how it would probably have to be. It would probably have to be something like this. I know it looks awful. And that's probably why I probably wouldn't do it even. But yeah, this would probably be how it would have to be if I wanted to do a motorcycle. Clear so far? I'll take your silence as a yes. Oh, I need to do this. Huh? Yeah. The fuck does it mean with duration? Let's do that maybe, if that works. Okay, good. And it of course sends the signal and all that. Okay, fine, good, good, good. Y'all don't need to worry about any of these. This one is just the normal set the time to noon whenever it becomes dark. This is a mod that I don't use anymore. This is a mod that I don't use anymore. And this is just the normal command because I want to have it clear the entire time so it doesn't start raining or anything. Even though I am in a desert. All right. Well, do you all want a demonstration of anything else, or do you want me to switch over to some other game? Because I could probably either switch over to GTA, even though that might be a bit boring for y'all at this point. I could, of course, always go back to Generation Zero, considering it's been almost, what, half a year since that was streamed on this channel. Or we can continue on with Minecraft. We can maybe start ourselves a little survival world if y'all would want to see that. Or do you want to see some of my redstone creations that I've built up, that I at least have saved on this version of Minecraft? I'll give you 2 minutes to say what you want. So the choices are GTA, Gen Zero, demonstrate the generator, and or start ourselves a little survival world and see how far I can get it to today. Does that sound like a plan? I'm gonna take a drink in the meanwhile. Y'all can talk a little bit amongst yourselves. The fuck do you mean, AJ, with MV survival? Do you mean MC survival? Or do you mean like move on survival? I don't really understand. All right. Sure. Okay. So one vote for a survival world. Anybody else? All right. So the votes are in. MC survival it is then. All right. So let's take a quick little break, and I will get that started for us real quick.